I remember the way Lena laughed that afternoon. The kind of laugh that made you forget everything else. We were downtown, walking hand in hand past food trucks and street performers, her head tilted toward mine, her eyes sparkling under the summer sun. Lena had just stolen the last bite of my empanada and grinned like she'd won something. "Oh, come on," I said, nudging her shoulder. "I specifically called dibs." She smirked. "You hesitated. That's on you, soldier." "Veteran, thank you very much." She rolled her eyes. "Dishonorably discharged doesn't count." We both laughed, but there was weight behind the joke. That's how Lena handled hard things. She turned them into something you could smile about. I loved that about her. As we walked past a lamppost plastered in flyers, something caught her eye. She stopped suddenly. "Danny, look." It was a missing child poster. A girl, 7 years old, brown eyes, messy hair, last seen 2 days ago near Red Hollow Trail. I sighed. God, that's awful. Lena studied the photo like she knew the kid. She's so young. We stood there for a beat longer than most people would have. Then Lena gently took my hand again. "You know what sucks?" she said quietly. "You see things like this and you want to help, but you can't." As if summoned by her words, a woman stepped out of the crowd in front of us. Late 30s, maybe early 40s. Business casual, but almost too casual. Like she was wearing the idea of a person you trust. "Excuse me," she said, smiling like she already knew us. I couldn't help overhearing. "Are you two aware of the missing girl?" Lena nodded. The woman extended a perfectly manicured hand. "My name's Karen. I work for Lotus Outreach. We're organizing a search party in Red Hollow this evening. The more help we get, the better." I felt Lena squeeze my fingers just a little. "Really?" she said. "We were just talking about wanting to help." Karen smiled wider. Too wide. "Then you're perfect. We'll be meeting at 7:30 sharp behind the community center on 4th and Main. It'll only take a few hours, and we'll provide transport to and from the forest." "Wait. Sorry," I said. "Are you with the police?" "Not officially," she replied. "We're contracted. Lotus works directly with families in crisis. We've partnered with law enforcement many times before." There was something off about the way she spoke. Rehearsed. Almost like she was reading a script in her head. Lena was already pulling out her phone. "We'd love to help. What do we need?" "Just names and numbers," Karen said, producing a clipboard from nowhere. "And come dressed to hike. Boots, water, flashlights. You'll be heroes." I signed reluctantly. Something in me, call it instinct, call it leftover military paranoia, didn't like this. But Lena looked at me with those big eyes and whispered, "Come on, let's do some good." So I nodded. "Okay, we'll be there." Karen's eyes flicked between us. "Good," she said. "We always find who we're looking for." Then she was gone, vanishing into the crowd like she was never there. We showed up just before 7:30, parked in a dusty lot behind the community center, and found about 24 people gathered near a yellow school bus. Lena waved to our neighbors, the kind you recognize but never really talk to. Matt and Kelsey from down the block were there, along with some vaguely familiar faces and a handful of strangers. Everyone looked a little nervous. Lena squeezed my hand. "Told you it'd be a crowd." "Yeah, cult-sized," I muttered. She gave me a look. Kidding. Kind of. Karen was there again, still in that weirdly polished business casual outfit. Not a smudge on her, like the dust just didn't touch her. She moved through the group, checking names off her clipboard and smiling too much. When she reached us, her eyes locked on mine again for a second too long. Glad you came. We climbed into a bus and Lena leaned her head on my shoulder. You okay? I don't know. Something's off. She smiled. Yeah, it's spooky, but also kind of exciting, right? Like we're in an episode of Unsolved Mysteries. I tried to laugh, but it didn't quite land. The bus pulled away. We drove for about 45 minutes out past the edge of town, past fields and silent roads. Everyone in the bus fell into a strange hush, like we were going to church, not a forest. Eventually, we turned onto a narrow dirt road flanked by massive pine trees. The bus stopped in a clearing, just big enough for it to turn around. There was no signage, no trail markers, just trees, dense, tall, and dark. Karen stepped out first. Everyone out, please. We filed into the clearing. She stood in front of us and raised her voice just enough to be heard. The child was last seen wandering into this forest. We'll fan out in small groups. Don't wander alone. And if you feel lost, stay still. Our staff will find you. Danny raised a hand. Are you handing out radios or maps? Karen smiled. Our team is already in the forest and will give you everything you need. A few people nodded, as if that made sense. It didn't. Lena leaned in. I'll stick close, I promise. We moved into the trees. At first, it felt almost normal. Pine needles crunched underfoot. Someone joked about Bigfoot. People whispered back and forth, calling the girl's name now and then. But as we walked deeper, the sounds began to fade, like we were moving underwater. The branches above grew denser. What little sunlight remained was swallowed whole. Shadows stretched longer than they should. I flicked on my flashlight. So did Lena. About 20 feet ahead, she turned and grinned. This is nuts. Yeah, I said. Stay close, okay? But she didn't. Lena moved quickly. Too quickly, her light bobbing in the dark ahead. She disappeared behind a line of trees. I called out, but she didn't respond. Then I saw something on the ground. A sock. Small, pink, damp from the forest floor. I knelt down. Heart thudding. Before I could pick it up, I heard Lena's voice from somewhere up ahead. Danny, I found something. A jacket. I grabbed the sock and moved toward her voice. She stood still, light pointed at the forest floor. I walked up beside her. At her feet lay a small red jacket. Pristine, clean, out of place. It matches the photo, she said. I nodded. It's too clean. It hasn't been out here long. I turned to her, about to say something else, and froze. She was motionless. A massive white flower had unfurled over her head, petals like porcelain, pulsing slightly as if breathing. Black liquid oozed from its center, pouring down her hair, her shoulders soaking into her jacket. Lena. I rushed toward her, grabbed the stem. The forest went pitch black. My light died. The air turned thick, electric. I reached up and felt soft petals on my own scalp. And then cold, wet hands groping my face, pulling at my mouth, my eyes, my thoughts. I screamed, pulled my knife, and slashed wildly. I felt something tear. Light exploded back into the world. The flower crumpled, curling in on itself like burning paper. I fell to my knees. Lena lay on the ground, unconscious, black liquid pooling beneath her. I crawled to her, lifted her gently. She blinked. Danny? My voice cracked. I'm here. She touched my cheek, eyes glassy. They're friends. What? I looked up. We were surrounded by 5 or 6 of those massive lotus flowers. They didn't move, just stood there, swaying gently as if watching us. The forest was dead silent. Lena took my hand, then started walking slowly, our boots crunching the gravel underfoot. Neither of us spoke. I followed Lena through the trees, but every step felt wrong. Lena moved ahead, calm and sure, like she knew exactly where she was going. She didn't even look back. We walked for what felt like miles. The woods were denser now. We passed more clothing, child-sized shoes, a backpack, and a crushed pink hairband, always resting at the center of a flower circle. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to run. But something about Lena seemed detached, dreamy. Behind us, the woods were silent. No birds, no wind, just the sound of boots on moss and something wet squelching on the ground. I kept checking over my shoulder, but no one was there. At least, not that I could see. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. The flashlight trembled in my grip, and I was suddenly aware of how loud my heartbeat was. And then, like a curtain lifting, the woods thinned, and the bus was there, waiting. There were maybe 20 of us, emerging one by one from the black trees like survivors of a long-forgotten war. We moved in unison now, like we'd been rehearsing this march for years. Karen stood at the head of the line near the bus, clipboard in hand, smiling. Lena stood ahead of me, her hands swinging loosely at her sides. One by one, Karen checked names off her list. When Lena stepped up, Karen gave her a warm nod and waved her forward. No words. No questions. Then it was my turn. She looked up from the clipboard and directly into my eyes. That smile faltered for just a moment. She reached out, slowly, and pressed one manicured finger against my cheek. I flinched. Her touch was cold. She pulled her hand back and studied her fingertip. A smear of black residue glistened under the bus's headlight. She examined it with something close to satisfaction, then marked the clipboard and motioned me onto the bus without a word. We rode in silence. The bus rumbled down winding roads for nearly an hour, and no one made a sound. The only light came from dim yellow strips overhead. Everyone sat with hands folded, eyes forward. Lena sat next to me. She didn't speak. She didn't look at me. Her eyes were locked on the window, like something was calling her through the trees. I wanted to whisper to her, ask what she was feeling, what had happened to us. But the silence was heavy, like speaking would shatter something fragile and dangerous. Eventually, we arrived. A low concrete building sat alone on the edge of a misty clearing. No signage, just a large black lotus emblem over a reinforced steel door. Karen stood. Please follow me. Orientation is about to begin. We filed out and followed her through the front doors. Inside, the temperature dropped. The air was antiseptic, unwelcoming. The hallway was silent except for the echo of our footsteps. Pale fluorescent lights buzzed faintly overhead, casting long shadows on the tile floor. She led us into a room with no windows. Just 40 identical chairs arranged in neat rows, all facing a large flat screen mounted to the wall. The walls were off-white, padded, soundless. Please be seated, Karen said. We obeyed. The door behind us clicked shut. I don't remember seeing a handle. The TV turned on by itself. White static. Then the Lotus logo bloomed onto the screen, petals unfurling in hypnotic slow motion. A calm, neutral voice filled the room. Welcome to your new beginning. You are among the chosen, the initiated, the few who heard the call and followed it. You may feel strange, your memories may blur, but you will thrive. You will evolve. You will become. I felt my mouth go dry. Lena leaned forward in her seat like she was watching a sunrise. The voice continued, Your integration has begun. Go home. Rest. Our representatives will contact you soon. You belong to the garden now, and through you, it will bloom. The screen went black. Karen stepped forward, her smile wider now. Welcome. A gesture of appreciation from Lotus. Lotus hopes these funds help you get comfortable and find your footing in your new life. She began handing each of us an envelope. When she placed one in my hands, it felt thick. I peeked inside. $2,000 in crisp bills. Please return to the bus, she said, like she was talking to kindergartners after a field trip. We obeyed. Another silent ride. Lena took my hand as we stepped off the bus back near town. Her grip was firm but impersonal, like muscle memory. We walked home together, the night unusually quiet around us. When we got home, I locked the doors and windows. Every single one. I watched Lena carefully. She was humming. Soft. Tuneless, like she was playing with her voice for the first time. She undressed in slow motion, carefully folding her clothes and padded barefoot into the bathroom. I watched Lena carefully as she stepped inside. Her skin stained with dried sap, dirt, and something black and oily that still clung to her skin in faint streaks. Mine, too. She looked over her shoulder and said softly, Come shower with me. There was no seduction in her voice, just a kind of quiet certainty, like she knew I would. In the bathroom, steam curled up the walls, fogging the mirror. We stepped under the hot water together, not saying much at first. I watched as the black residue swirled down the drain, vanishing into nothing. I lathered her shoulders, rinsed the muck from her hair. She helped scrub my back, her hands slow, careful, almost reverent. After a while, I asked, Lena, what happened out there? She tilted her head. We helped. That flower, I started, but she touched my lips gently. Shh, she whispered. It's over now, we're safe. Just let it go. Her smile was tender, her eyes soft. Everything's going to be okay, she said. You'll see. And in that moment, I wanted to believe her, even if something deep in my gut twisted at the words. We dried off in silence. Later, she slipped on one of my old t-shirts and crawled into bed beside me. Come to bed, she said. I'm tired. I wanted to ask questions. About what happened in the woods, about the flowers, about that damn voice on the TV, but I was exhausted. More tired than I'd ever been. We climbed into bed. She curled against me, her hand resting gently over my chest. I'm glad we went, she whispered. I didn't respond. As Lena slept beside me, her breath even and calm, I stared at the ceiling. My mind raced. The flowers, the silence, the way no one else questioned a thing. I knew something was wrong. But it was buried now. Under exhaustion. Under comfort, under her warmth. Sleep pulled at me like a riptide. And for the first time in years, I didn't dream. But when I woke up, the nightmares began. Lena woke up before me. That alone was strange. She wasn't a morning person, not unless it involved pancakes or something painting related. But that morning she was already up and dressed, sipping coffee at the table like she'd been awake for hours. "Morning," she said, all smiles. "You hungry?" I rubbed my eyes. "A little." She slid a plate toward me. Toast, eggs, a single slice of avocado, perfectly balanced. Not how either of us usually ate. "You okay?" I asked. She nodded. "I feel clear, like I've been underwater for years and just came up for air." I smiled, but my stomach was tight. "You remember last night? The forest?" She tilted her head slightly. "Of course." "Why?" I paused. "The flowers, the video, the bus. Doesn't any of that, I don't know, bother you?" Lena sipped her coffee. "You always overthink things." She stood, kissed my forehead, and walked into the living room like she hadn't just said the most unsettling sentence of my life. I spent most of that day trying to make sense of things. My laptop sat open with 15 tabs pulled up. I searched everything. Lotus outreach. Giant white flowers eating humans. Black sap hallucination. Even forest cult. Nothing. Just gardening blogs and a couple of local news blurbs about the missing girl. No mention of a search party. No article, no bus, no Karen. Every time I glanced at Lena, she looked normal. Not quite herself, but not wrong enough to say something either. She wore her hair differently now, pinned up neatly like a school administrator. Her voice was more clipped, her posture straighter, and she was always doing something. Sorting receipts, organizing the fridge, writing lists in a new leather planner I'd never seen before. That afternoon, a knock came at the door. Lena answered it like she'd been expecting someone. A man in a dark suit stood outside, clean-shaven, clipboard in hand. He didn't look at me. Only her. "Ms. Reyes," he said. "Welcome to onboarding." She took the envelope he handed her and thanked him. Before I could say a word, the man turned and walked off. Not toward a car, just down the block, vanishing behind the neighbor's hedges. "What the hell was that?" I asked. Lena smiled calmly. "It's just work stuff." "Work for what?" "For Lotus," she said like it was the most natural thing in the world. "They offered me a position." "You're an art teacher." "I was," she corrected gently. "But they saw something in me. I've been reassigned to development strategy." I blinked. "Development for what?" She tilted her head, studying me now. Not lovingly, analytically. Outreach, integration, the future, really. There was a pause, a flicker in her expression. Her smile held, but her eyes sharpened slightly. "Danny?" she said carefully. "You didn't watch the full video, did you?" I didn't answer. She nodded slowly, confirming something to herself. "That's surprising." Then, like flipping a switch, she leaned in, her voice smoother, warm, seductive. "You know, that's not a bad thing. Some of our best candidates take longer to bloom,
You're grounded, curious. That's valuable and rare.
I stared at her. Candidates?
She gave a soft, amused laugh, like I'd just said something naive. Danny, we don't waste potential. We elevate it. That night, she watched the entire 16-hour onboarding video. Didn't eat. Didn't blink much. Just sat there, absorbing every frame. It was like history class mixed with propaganda, timelines of ancient civilizations, graphs of population changes, theories about subconscious communication. I walked in once and saw the words biological transmission via flora on the screen. When I asked her about it, she barely looked away. "It's not for you," she murmured. "You'll understand when it's time." The next morning, she had a new wardrobe. I don't know where it came from. Pressed blouses, gray pencil skirts, sleek black flats, all logoed with a subtle white lotus on the cuff or collar. She didn't go back to the school. She said she was being reallocated. I kept researching. Forums, conspiracy threads, Reddit, nothing solid. Only whispers. Strange images, blurry shots of oversized plants, half-sane stories about shadow gardens and the third bloom. The kind of stuff even tinfoil hat people dismissed. But it was something. I started sleeping less, eating less. I hid my laptop when I wasn't using it, changed passwords, started carrying a pocket knife again, even in the house. Every now and then, Lena would touch my arm and say, "You're pulling away from me." I didn't know how to respond. One night, I woke up to find the bed empty. The sheets beside me were still warm, but Lena was gone. I rubbed the sleep from my eyes, sat up, and noticed the bedroom window was wide open. A breeze drifted in, carrying the faint scent of pine and something sweeter. Familiar, but wrong. I got up and peered out through the blinds. Lena stood in the front yard, her white t-shirt glowing in the moonlight. She was speaking in hushed tones to a small group gathered near the flower bed. 5 or 6 figures, some I recognized from the forest. Matt from down the street. That quiet girl who'd sat 2 rows ahead of us during orientation. And Karen. They were all facing Lena, listening like she was giving instructions. No one moved. No one spoke, except Lena. Her hands moved gently as she talked, like she was painting the air with invisible meaning. I leaned closer to the glass, heart racing. Lena turned suddenly and looked straight at the window, straight at me. She didn't stop talking. She just smiled. I didn't sleep at all that night. That night, the house felt smaller than ever. Every creak in the floorboards echoed like footsteps. I lay awake, staring at the darkness, listening for Lena to return. My pillow still smelled faintly of her shampoo, and yet I couldn't shake the feeling that she'd changed. At 2 a.m., my heart jolted awake. Footsteps, soft, measured, approached the bedroom door. The handle turned. Lena stepped inside, impeccably dressed again. Tailored slacks and that subtle lotus pin she'd started wearing. Her eyes glowed in the moonlight, gentle and cold all at once. She sat on the edge of the bed, eyes glinting in the dark. Her tone was soft and sweet. "I need you to come back with me," she said. "It's not what you think. It's not dangerous, it's beautiful, it's life-changing." I sat up, heart thudding. "Lena, what did they do to you? Are you even still you?" She tilted her head. "I'm still me. I'm just more. And you could be too." I stood, backing a few steps toward the window. "That forest, whatever's out there, it took something from you." She smiled gently. Or maybe it gave me something. A sense of purpose, of peace, of family.
You sound like you've been possessed.
She didn't flinch, didn't argue, just let the silence stretch between us.
Then she said calmly, "You don't need to be afraid. I'd never let anything hurt you. Not them, not me. This isn't about control, it's about belonging. You'll understand when you see it again."
I shook my head. I am not going back.
Her expression didn't change, but something flickered behind her eyes. An ache, maybe. A loss already mourned.
You're still part of this, she whispered, whether you choose to be or not.
Fine, she said softly. If you won't come willingly, we'll bring you. I heard them long before I saw them. Footsteps in the hall, multiplying into shuffling, whispering voices. I cracked the door. A half circle of faces from the search party, all expressionless, eyes fixed on me like lambs at slaughter. Matt, Kelsey, the quiet girl, even Karen, the recruiter, stood there, silent, obedient.
Lena stepped into the doorway, radiant. They volunteered. They're ready to help me, she said, as if announcing a surprise party.
My mind reeled. Help you? To kidnap me?
She tilted her head. We're a community now. You belong to Lotus. You can leave. But leaving comes with consequences.
A figure behind her stepped forward. A man I didn't recognize holding a thick rope. He offered it to Lena, who held it out to me with a smile. "Join us, Danny."
My heart pounded. Panic rose. No.
In unison, they advanced. My instincts kicked in. I dove past them, grabbed the pocket knife. Door slammed behind me. I was surrounded.
Lena stepped closer, her voice low. This isn't about you, Danny. It's about potential, about growth, about thriving.
I struggled free, knocking Matt aside, and bolted for the back door. The group hesitated. Lena lifted her hand, and they surged forward again. I burst outside into the cool night, sprinting across the lawn. Behind me, I heard soft footsteps, and then Lena calling my name, her voice heartbreakingly sweet. "Danny, trust me."
I plunged into the night, branches slapping my face, moonlight barely guiding me. I dared not look back, but footsteps followed. I heard a single word, whispered by the wind. "Danny." I vanished into the darkness, adrenaline fueling me, terrified of what or whom I left behind.
I ran. Barefoot, phone in my pocket, keys forgotten, just the pounding of my feet against the pavement and the roar of my pulse in my ears. I didn't have a plan. Just one thought repeating over and over. Get away. Streetlights flashed past me in streaks of gold. The neighborhood blurred. Driveways, fences, mailboxes, none of it real anymore. Every shadow looked like a person. Every rustling tree made me flinch. I made it 2 blocks before I saw them. First one, then 3, then 5. People, stepping out from side yards, emerging from parked cars, closing in from behind trees. I turned on my heel and sprinted in the other direction. But more figures appeared. From behind bushes, from alleyways, from places they shouldn't have been able to hide. A wall of calm, silent faces. Walking down the street was Matt, Karen, the girl from the forest, that guy who'd sat 2 seats behind us on the bus, and Lena at the center of it all. Her face was soft, loving, like she was welcoming me home. There was nowhere left to run. I hit the curb and stumbled, hard. My palm scraped the concrete. The world spun. Before I could get back to my feet, arms were around me. They didn't punch. They didn't scream. They just held me, like mourners at a wake, gripping tight as I writhed and shouted and cursed. "Let me go!" I yelled, my voice tearing at my throat. Lena stepped into view. She crouched beside me on the sidewalk, brushed hair from my eyes.
"You're scared," she said gently. "That's okay."
"Get away from me, this isn't you." She paused, tilting her head. "I'm still me," she said. "I just see things clearer now." She nodded once and the hands around me tightened. "Let's go home," she whispered. Then the world tilted. They didn't blindfold me. They didn't need to. I knew where we were going. The forest looked different this time. Less like nature, more like something pretending to be. The trees were too still. The light too soft. Lena walked ahead of us, guiding the group in silence. I was still kicking, but it didn't matter. I wasn't walking anymore. I was being delivered. We reached a clearing. I recognized it instantly, the same one from before. They carried me into the forest, to a circle of lotus flowers. "No!" I shook my head. But they didn't stop. Karen leaned down and whispered, "It only hurts if you resist." Lena knelt beside me, brushing hair from my forehead. "This is where everything gets easier," she said. "You don't have to worry anymore." I spat at her feet. "You're not saving me. You're killing me." She tilted her head. "You think that's worse?" And then the flower opened. They held me down as Lena guided my face toward the bloom. The petals were cool against my skin, soft, damp, and strangely inviting. Like the forest was cradling me. I screamed once, and then darkness. I woke up smiling. No pain, no fear, just warmth. I stood slowly. The others were around me, watching. Lena stepped forward and helped brush dirt off my sleeves. "There you are," she said softly. "Isn't it better?" I nodded. Not because I meant to. Because I didn't know how not to. My body felt light. My mind quieter. Like a glass of water finally set down on a flat surface. They walked me through the forest, back toward the road, toward the waiting bus. The others moved with me, guiding me gently, whispering praise like I'd done something wonderful. I couldn't remember what I'd been so afraid of. On the ride back, I sat beside Lena. She held my hand. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. Now I stand where Karen once stood. A clipboard in my hands. Downtown, near the food trucks. The flyers flutter behind me. A couple approaches. Young, hopeful, full of that sweet, stupid curiosity. "Excuse me," I say, smiling just a little too much. "Are you too aware of the missing girl?" And deep beneath the calm in my voice, I screamed.